Anytime now. Okay. All right. Recording started. Yeah. So welcome everyone to our AI is Fun session, which is something we hold every 2 weeks, showing the latest and greatest in AI. It is a free session, so if any of you watching through YouTube wants to join us live, it happens every 2 Wednesdays. So far, it's every 2 Wednesdays, and we do share tools that are both free and paid. So a little bit of a mix of the both. So this is our old EDM. We are looking to change to something new. So I'm just going to show you this one because we do cover a lot of tools. On the top left, of course, the Copilot and, ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Midjourney. But trying to experiment a little bit into editing this EDM for our next few sessions. So I'm just going to share my other screen. So instead, I was experimenting on, one of our past few sessions, we were talking about the Canva AI, right? So this is something I whipped up. Yeah, it's fun. It's very, very simple, right? I think in the art of creating this sort of EDMs, banners, and the key is to be simple. So something like this, right? And this is something I whipped up in 10 minutes. So just to show you guys, one of the one of the templates, one of the prototypes we're doing in redesigning the EDM. So yeah, but for today, our focus, I think, will be a little bit more on industry tools, right? So this would be something free if you're looking it up as part of our YouTube channel. I will be linking it later. We do have a session talking about, purely on Canva AI, talking about PowerPoint and this sort of stuff, making graphic designs with the assistance of AI, right? And so, yeah, but for today's focus, it'll be a little bit tilted towards more industrial tools like Copilot in Microsoft 365, for example. So that is something that I will cover, something that one of my presentation partners will also cover later. But for now, I do want to pass it first to our first speaker for the session, which is Noel, right? So I'm going to stop sharing over here. Okay, I'll let you share your screen. Yeah, all good.
All right. Thanks so much. I also created this last minute, so hope you like it. Something simple.
Looks
Well, I
good.
always believe that having fun is important as part of the learning, right? So I think the title AI is fun is very appropriate for that purpose, right? And hopefully fun means also that you don't feel burdened, you don't feel stressed, right? And hopefully that's it. There is still a lot of concerns out there in regards to where AI is heading, right? Especially when it comes to job losses, for example. Okay. Now, this is something from the World Economic Forum. Yeah. Right. These are the jobs most likely. Okay. A lot of time people miss all these words and they will just omit this and says these are the jobs to be lost and created. Right. Most likely because many of these are predictions. Right. And predictions are at best predictions. So it can be right, it can be wrong, it can be off, and it can be really, really far out off. Okay, but this is what some of these so-called industry experts are saying. Right, so it's around 40% of all working hours could be impacted. Now, what do they mean by something like this? Possibly because of AI, people can do things better, faster. Right, so this can be positive. But if you have someone looking at it in a negative, they can say, "Oh, it means that they can do with less people." Right? It means also they will chop their workforce by 40% if the number of working hours can be reduced by 40%. Right? Now, many organizations who have over the years hired people, they will not just reduce people by a number like 40% just because there are better tools. Maybe the pressure point would be the individuals are expected to be able to take on more work and new work. Instead of outsourcing the piece of graphic work to someone, they want the internal team to also try it out to see whether they can come out with something equally good, if not better. Okay, so these are some of the things that we need to be very careful when we read information. It says, but roles for AI and machine learning specialists, data analysts and scientists, and digital transformation specialists are expected to grow rapidly. Not surprising, right? Because AI is still an up and emerging area, right? Most of us probably don't know AI the way we know it today, right? Prior to 2021, 2022, right? So it's only been out there for less than 5 years, if you want. But because it's such a fast moving area, obviously the amount of skill sets to do some of these areas in a deep and meaningful manner will take time to build up. So that's essentially what this particular piece means. AI and machine learning specialists. Now the question is, do you have to be IT? Do you have to be deeply technical? Do you need to be a software developer and all that? It depends on the area that you want to go into. Okay, because the later part of my sharing is going to go down the path of how we will help our kids be prepared for this AI future, if you want. But at least for the people who are in the workforce today, reskilling them to be effective is going to be very important. Now, some individuals don't need to be pushed very hard to reskill themselves. Some individuals are very complacent, and even with all the pushing, nothing will happen, nothing will change, right? But I like to think that many individuals, given the opportunity, will try to adapt and try to learn. Now, how fast they adapt and learn, that depends on the effort and the individual's propensity to learn. But I would like to give people the benefit of doubt that they are willing to learn. Now, if you are the complacent type and you're unwilling to learn and change, then don't blame AI, don't blame technology, don't blame anything. Maybe look at yourself as a reason why you may be one of the people that will be replaced. Okay, so that's the message to you, right, from what many of these articles are talking about. So this is a very, very good statement. People will be at the heart of successful AI use. If not for the people, there's no AI use. AI don't happen all by itself. You need people to drive the AI for it to work. Okay, so this is a very good article to get started. All right, I will paste this into the chat window later so that you can have a look and go through it. All right, as we embark to understand how AI will impact future jobs, adopting AI in an impactful manner will help a long way towards doing a better job, even in whatever that we are doing. It's not about replacement alone. It is actually about empowerment, right? Replacement may happen one day in the future, but at least for the near foreseeable future, think of it as a growth that the individual need to embark on. Okay? So that's one piece of it, right? Now, the important thing to note also is some of you may have realized that this individual, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, was with President Trump to their visit to Beijing recently. Right? As part of that trip, Jensen decided to also visit a couple of countries, namely Korea. All right. So this was a meeting that he had over dinner, right, with some big Korean companies like the SK Group, the LG Group, and Naver. Okay, so these are big IT tech, all right, and not just IT and tech, but also electronics and electrical equipment companies. Right? I'm sure many of you are familiar with like the LG Group, with the LG television, fridges, and all, washing machines, and so forth. So the point here is why this individual is important in the whole scheme of things with AI is because his company, NVIDIA, is the biggest producer of a very important device, right, called the GPU, the graphical processor unit or graphic processing unit. And the GPU is critical to make sure that AI can churn out the results as quickly as possible. So a lot of AI companies, including OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, and so forth, they use NVIDIA GPUs to provide that AI capability that you and I are using. Now, let me play you a video about AI and job losses so that you can hear from people like Jensen himself on what he thinks about that. Right now, it's important to always think of it from the perspective of this individual, not just listen to his opinion and so forth, but think of his situation now that you have understood
AI to job loss. For many of the CEOs that are doing it, it is just too lazy. It's just too lazy. AI has just arrived. How is it possible they're already losing jobs? How is it possible that AI became productive and useful only 6 months ago, and they were somehow laying people off 2 years ago because of AI? It doesn't make any sense. It was just a way for them to sound smart, and I really hate that. I think we're scaring people, and that's irresponsible. I think we should tell a balanced story, a balanced narrative about the potential of this technology, the importance of advancing it safely, security, guardrailed with necessary social, political, government, industrial policies to ensure that it advances safely. On the other hand, tell a story that's optimistic so that people want to be part of it.
We are seeing more and more companies cutting jobs while they're investing heavily in AI. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how inevitable are job cuts because of AI? And what do you say to people who are afraid of losing their jobs to AI?
I would say to the people who are worried about losing their jobs to AI to learn AI. You're not going to lose your jobs to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who learned AI better than you. When the PC came along, the PC didn't take people's jobs. The people who didn't learn how to use PCs were left behind. When the computers came along, the computer industry, I had the benefit of being swept along with this incredible growth of this industry. I could have, of course, rejected it and went to another field where the computers was not involved, and I could have been left behind. And so my recommendation is don't allow yourself to be left behind by AI. Now let's talk about what's going on. It's more likely that the companies with ambition will be more productive, they will do things faster, their company would increase in velocity. As a result, they become larger, more profitable. When they become larger and more profitable, they'll end up hiring more people. And of course, they'll use more AI, but they'll also hire more people. NVIDIA today has AI all over our company. We're hiring more people. We're moving faster. We're more and more ambitious. The type of things that we used to think was going to take 10 years, I now think is going to take 1 or 2 years. And so your ambition has to be elevated by the technology of the time. If you don't engage the technology of your time, you'll just simply be left behind. And so my recommendation is to engage it. Now, the future, when people think about job loss and AI, what they see is that there's only so much work in the world to do. There's only so many stories to write, only so much code to write, only so many products to design, only so many things to enjoy. And that is completely, obviously false. Our ambition, if great, then automation and AI, which is the ultimate version of automation, would elevate your company, would elevate GDP. As a result, we should be able to bring more prosperity. It is very likely there will be more jobs in 5 years than there are today. Many more jobs. Some jobs will be different, some jobs will be gone, and many new jobs will be emerged. And I can say that with almost certainty. And the reason for that is this. The world has been growing, the GDP of the world has been growing at about 2% per year, 2% per year, for 150 years. For 150 years, where there was the Industrial Revolution with electricity, information technology, transportation, steam, manufacturing equipment, all the way to personal computers and internet and cell phones and so on and so forth, and artificial intelligence, it's been on a solid 2% per year. And it's incredible. And my sense is that, well, my belief is that all of those technologies at the time were transformative. Of course they were. How you and I live our lives today and how 150 years ago people lived their lives, the industries, the companies, my goodness, completely different. And yet, 2% per year, the number of jobs that have been created in the last 150 years, incredible. The number of jobs that will be created in the next 150 years is going to be utterly incredible. Of course, some jobs will be very different. Let's imagine that prosperity. AI has the opportunity to close the technology divide like no technology ever has. For example, you are a better user of computers today as a news reporter than at any time in history, because you can program to do whatever. If you want your own website, if you want your own broadcast, you can. Just ask the AI to help you create it. You're now a programmer just like I am a programmer. And so for the first time, AI has closed the technology divide. We have the opportunity to bring everybody along in this new technology revolution. That's a very big deal. The second, of course, AI will likely change the shape of the services industry, the manufacturing industry, and very importantly, the consumption industry, the entertainment industry. It is more likely that people are going to consume more because we're more prosperous. And because we're going to consume more, it is very likely that the leisure industry and the creation of content will enjoy more because we'll have more time to enjoy the content that you create.
All right.
You said something recently that was quite profound.
So some of you may have seen this before. Any of you seen this before?
Is that recent?
Yeah. Let me see. What was the date of this particular?
I think the narrative that connects.
Oh, 3 weeks ago. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I've
was,
seen.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that he said that even though AI just came up as a technology as a whole, that these companies are really laying off a large percentage of their workforce, right? And it's almost like they actually wanted to lay off these employees from the get-go, but they're using AI as a scapegoat, pretty much. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what Jensen is saying. Companies are just too lazy, right? And I think it's just an excuse to use AI as the reason why they need to let people go. All right. I'm sure there are genuine ones, all right, but definitely it's too early to say that AI is the main reason. Right now, even for big companies like Microsoft and Google and so on and so on. Now, some of those organizations are making large structural fundamental changes, right? So some of these narratives that even Jensen and others are talking about is we need to go deeper when we see things like, oh, AI is the reason why companies are closing down, why companies are letting people go and so forth. It says you are not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who learned AI better than you, right? Now, the better than you part, I think, is still a little bit futuristic in the sense that everyone is still learning AI in many ways, but between learning AI from using it as a chatbot versus automating processes with agentic AI and all that is probably where he's going down the path with that AI better than you. Right? Some people are just using it just for the fun of it. Some people are using it for serious stuff. Those who are using it for serious stuff obviously will have greater productivity than those who are just playing around with it. Okay, I think this is the part that he's talking about for now. All right, but it's important to know that many of these things are happening around us, and many people who are not even on board on what exactly AI is doing and causing will buy into these kind of narratives. So those of us who know a bit more, use the opportunity to educate those who are not clued on so that we can bring them into the world of where those who have family, especially younger kids, are now exposed to more AI than ever before. So this is something that I created very quickly just today using AI, right? So I was playing with a Copilot for PowerPoint, and it helped me create this based on the prompt that I gave it. Right. So there are 5 pillars how we can keep our kids safe with AI. Right. So it says privacy and data. Apps, toys, chatbots can collect a child's voice, images, and habits, often without clear consent. Now, these parts here, if they are very young kids, obviously the kids are probably not the one buying those toys, downloading those apps, and using those chatbots. The adults need to play a role in making sure that the kids are safe, right? So this is not talking about kids self-governing, but rather kids working alongside, supporting the, the adults, supporting the kids, right? Making sure that the content is appropriate, over reliance. This is a balance between how much time they spend using AI for homework and so forth, and how they use it. Right now, for families where the kids are left on their own, obviously the what they call the study center or tuition center and all those kind of facilities need to be brought in to make sure that the reliance is balanced. Right, not use AI just to do homework for them so that they don't think, they don't use their own creativity and their knowledge and all that to learn, right? But AI does play a big role in ensuring learning is good, right? Screen time and well-being. Not just kids, even adults, many of us have to balance between sleep, what we focus on, and even our social skills and so forth. So it's not just something that speaks to kids, but also for adults. Of course, the parental guidance, the guardrails is needed. All right, these are just some high-level things to think about. But ultimately, how can AI help these kids? One, to be ready to go to higher education. Secondly, from higher education into the workplace, right? Now, there are many versions of how AI can help, but I personally think one of the most powerful is actually personalized pace. Many a time I've seen kids fall behind because they cannot keep up with the way the class and the speed of how the teachers are taking the class at the subject level, or even the chapter and the topic level. All right. So 1 and 3, I believe, are powerful ways where the kids get like a personal tutor at the back and call of their fingers, right, to be able to find information and to learn. But some of that also need to have guidance from the parents and for people who can help them to pick up that AI, right? Always available help. This is about timing, right? A lot of times kids spend so much time going for tuition classes in the past. Now, some of the tuition classes probably could be reduced or cut back, right? And leveraging something like AI to help them, right? A study buddy, right? I like that term, right? That helps a lot. Now, this spark curiosity and all that, obviously, as the kids mature further and the environment they are in mature further, obviously can provide that interactive way that kids can work with AI, right? Through quizzes, through stories. I was reading about how the latest updates to Notebook LM can help write storybooks and all that. So there's a lot of all these things that essentially can help kids learn better. Now, my biggest concern obviously is the young adults that are graduating or have recently graduated in the last couple of years, or struggling to get work, right? Because many organizations are holding back. But I believe the reason why they're holding back is not just about AI, it's actually about the current geopolitics as well as the current economic situation caused by, most of us know, the war that's happening in the Middle East, all right? And of course, prior to that, it was Russia and Ukraine. So there's a lot of those things happening that's causing a lot of uncertainty in this world. So many businesses are being very cautious, if you want, in terms of spending money. That includes hiring people. So sometimes it's too easy for us to just label, oh, companies are not hiring or companies are making people redundant because of AI. With or without AI, some of these geopolitics and economic circumstances within countries and around the world, all right, will continue to march forward, right? So it's very important for us to realize that and not just label every situation as, oh, AI is displacing people, AI is causing this and that and all that, right? Any questions? Anyone care to share their thoughts around this?
Yeah, I agree with, especially the previous slide when you're talking about, putting out some of these guardrails so that the kids don't get derailed when they're using, AI tools, right? Because I know one thing that is very up and coming is that the government is trying to control social media use, right? By
Yeah.
requiring government ID and that sort of stuff. And I think something similar should be, taken into account when accessing these AI tools, because I think it could be as dangerous, definitely.
Mm,
If not, requiring a government ID, at the very least, have a version of these AI tools, or something like social media that is
yeah.
much more tailored towards children, right? Things that are, they're not very open. They're not just letting you watch all of these videos unfiltered, for example, right? I think if there's something that could be implemented with AI, I think it would be nice.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, the biggest immediate concern that I feel that all of us can help is to look out for the young adults which are just coming out into the workforce or in trying to get into the workforce or break into the workforce in the last couple of years that are struggling. All right. Even with remote work, part-time work, whatever the manner and mechanism that they can get in to get some experience. Because it's very saddening when you see people come out and then they cannot get work or their
Yeah,
work
I've
distorted.
heard an argument is like, oh, don't use. I've heard it for like some people. It's like, don't use AI when writing your resume or like writing your cover letter, because it might like sound disingenuous or things like
Mm,
that. But I feel like, number one, you should realize that even companies are using AI to screen your resumes, right? And number two, you
mm,
shouldn't be taking AI results as is, right? You should be like transforming on
mm,
it, like writing it extra things on it, double checking on its facts, stuff like that, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
correct. And that's particularly important, especially in the current situation with scams and so forth. I see too often people just ask, is this scam? And the question is, have you even tried to check to see whether it's a scam? All right. So the point is, I think sometimes we are so lazy in that sense that we just want to ask, right? We just want to manufacture the opinions and the ideas in our head, but we're not willing to put ourselves to the task to find out and educate others. So we propagate fake news, we propagate, all kinds of information and even some of the fake investment links and all that without realizing the consequences, all right? And we get ourselves embroiled in it. So there's so much information out there, right? In fact, even in recent weeks, I've been showing people in some of the chat groups how to check very quickly whether a particular link is a scam, right? Or fake news, right? And often they're not, like, even if you go down the path of fake news, it's actually news which is true, all right, mixed with fake news, mixed with exaggerated news,
It's
all
like
right.
sensationalized.
Yeah, exactly. So they mix it all together, bundle it all together to make it look so provocative, if you want, often getting people angry with political situations, angry with so-called road bullies. There are many of those. And when you copy and paste that article into, say, ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever AI tool you're using, you just ask, is this fake? It actually runs through line by line in detail, all right, what exactly you're looking at. And I think that's the important way of even just simply using AI, right? Because a lot of people don't know how to use AI even for their own use. Let me show you very quickly to wrap that up before I pass it back to Greg, right? Say, for example, right, I did something here, AI's role in online scamming. Okay, so this is what I did with Copilot in M365. Okay,
Oh,
so if you can see my screen, it says AI is behind the surge in online scamming as £500 million lost to fraudster. This was an article that I found online that said that £500 million, British pounds, lost to fraudster. All right, so it says here, AI is driving a surge in online scams. What the news actually says. So over £576 million was lost in 2025 to scams where victims were tricked into sending money. Right now, you notice that there's all these articles, all right, that you can refer to. Now, these are important part of identifying whether the information is fake or real. Many a time I see people not checking, right? And if they don't check, they just forward it on. They are actually propagating fake news, propagating scams themselves. Not that they are trying to do it intentionally, but these are important things. So when I click on this, right, it verifies the link. It opens up the article, right? And you can see, right, that this is definitely a real article, right? Check the URL. You can see it's from a British site called standard.co.uk, right? It's not from alibaba.com. Whatever country /Noel Tang /scam, all right? So the point here is these are basic things we can check, but many people don't, okay? Why AI is making scams worse? Now, if any of you are curious, right, that people say, hey, AI is making people lose their jobs, go check it out. Ask AI, is AI really causing people to lose jobs? So I ask those kind of very fundamental questions because there are too often people just make a statement, but they can't verify it, right? It's like hearsay, right? I don't like hearsay. I like more data-driven kind of statements, right? So if I say hyper-realistic impersonation, like deepfakes and cloning, is it true? Is it true that AI makes it easier? So let's have a look at the article, right? So I click on this, and then it will take me down that path. If I'm not happy enough with just one article, I can go look for more, right? Copy this if you want. Create a new chat, put it in here, just paste. That's not a very difficult prompt, right? This is like using AI like Google, if you want, right? So what prompt do you need? You don't need to go for prompt engineering classes to do this. Okay, so anyone who claimed that, oh, I'm not good with AI because I don't have any training, I don't know what to say, and so just copy and paste, okay? Right, it says it's one of the fastest growing cyber threat today, especially relevant to your work in partner enablement, because I do a lot of work in that area, security discussions and AI conversations. So is it true? So it gives me all these things. It gives me all these articles as well. Look through them and see whether there's merits to some of the things. This email, right? Security checklist, AI impersonation search, reputation damage. Is that true? Does AI cause reputation damage, especially around election time, right? And it's not so far away from our own general election, which may be end of this year, early next year. So there's a lot of those situations whereby potentially AI can be used for misinformation, manipulation, and so on. Okay, so doesn't take much for us to learn about those aspects. Okay, and it's just a simple copy and paste into AI. Now, some of you might say, but I don't have Copilot for Microsoft 365. I only have the free Copilot or I have ChatGPT. So let's do the same thing very quickly with the free Copilot. So this is my free Copilot. Let's paste this in, right? And see what the free Copilot gives me. Okay. If you go through this list of information that's provided, it's not bad. It's free. It's not bad. But you might say, hey, no, but I don't see any references in this one. Okay. Well, if it didn't give you any references, ask for it. Okay. If you don't want to type, you can speak. All right. So there are many ways to do it. And it's just that many a time we don't ask, we don't do, we don't try, we don't get. So Britannica. Okay. So it gives you the links in here. May not be as comprehensive as the other one, but it doesn't matter as long as you get some authoritative sources of information that you can check. I think this alone is very, very good. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So hopefully that gives you a good feel of where potentially AI can be blamed for job losses. AI is being blamed for scams. Definitely, there is some truth to that, but how much of it is hype? How much of that is sensationalization? How much of that is reality? I think it's up to us to do the necessary due diligence. Right, back to you, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. Wow, that's really good sharing, though. Holy crap. Yeah, for on the topic of using, AI to enhance, I think your experience back at work without, without making it feel like, oh, AI is replacing you, because at the very end of the day, and in this time of age, a human is still required, right, to pull the trigger, as they said. So I actually wanted to show you guys a bit on automation, but for in the essence of time, we have 20 minutes. So I'm going to show you something that is actually highly requested from some of the customer sessions, because I sometimes I do training for for a day job, right? On some of the customer sessions talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot. So if you are not very familiar, Microsoft 365 is the entourage of tools provided by Microsoft, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but it also extends to things like Teams and Outlook, right? So I'm going to show you from a Teams perspective, actually. So one of the biggest additions that you can do, making use of AI as part of your workflow is creating meeting minutes, right? So something I want to show. Let me see if I can find it somewhere here. Oh, there you go. All right. So something you can do over here. So I'm just gonna close this real quick. So once you're done with once you're done with a meeting, for example, you've conducted it through Microsoft Teams, and of course it has to be recorded or at the very least transcribed. So transcribed is having a live, almost like a live script of what, line by line what you're talking about. So something like that, right? You see that this like everything that I've been saying throughout this. This is like one of my sessions that I was doing, right? So Microsoft Teams will provide you this, even in a free version, right? You don't have to be sub to Copilot for Microsoft 365 to get a transcription like this. So for meeting minutes, this transcription alone is very useful, right? But how can we use AI to, build onto this, for example? So this is where some of these tabs come into play. So this one, the most basic, is the AI summary. So it does give you meeting notes, what are the general topics we talked about. And one of the nicest additions, of course, is having these timestamps, right? So if you click into timestamps, I think it'll lead it to you if I click on this recording real quick. I'm not gonna play the audio, right? So see if it loads. I might have to reopen the window because I'm logging in through two different Teams accounts at the very moment. But yeah, so the essence of it is that if you click this, you'll get into the recording. But I think it's having a bit of an issue because I'm logged into two different Microsoft accounts concurrently in Teams. So one of the things you can do, of course, very nice, is to have follow-up tasks, right? So things like action items, you can even ask for it, what are things that Greg, me, right, have to do based on the stuff we've been talking about in this call. But addition to something as basic as this AI summary, is this one called custom summary, right? So let's say you wanna generate a very specific format of meeting minutes. So one thing you can do is that there's this template here, right? If your company, for example, writes meeting minutes in a specific font, in a specific, there's a header, or maybe there's like some sort of like a table formatting that you do timestamp by timestamp. If you have an example of that, you can actually just upload it into here. So for example, over here, you see following the format, and there's a sample note, right? So one of the things I was able to do this with this, not through here, but actually just through the simple Copilot pane, right? So you don't have to touch this. If you click on this Copilot icon, you get the Copilot pane, all right? And the Copilot pane is just able to do any of these things, but from a prompting perspective, right? So all of this is automated. You don't even have to prompt for them to come out. But using the Copilot pane is just as simple as using the regular Copilot, the free version, right? But one thing I did was, let me see if I can scroll a little bit. So I tell it to recap the meeting so far, summarize the key takeaways. It's able to give me something like that, right? So it's section by section, talking about practical use cases, because this is a session on Microsoft 365 Copilot. And talking about security, I was talking about security, right? And talking about how you can use Copilot in your workflow. But I wanted something that's a little bit more formal, right? Because it's something a very base level, but I don't think you can use this as a meeting minutes document, for example. So I did use it in conjunction with one of the M365 tools, which is over here. If you click on plus, you can access some of the agents. So that is called the researcher agent. So the researcher agent is known to be very good in being very in-depth, very lengthy, very verbose, and very, it gives you a myriad of sources. Not that there's much sources coming out of this one, but later on I'll show you how they integrate sources into something like this, right? So I'm using the researcher agent over here, for example, and creating a meeting minutes, right? So I say to create the 10-page detailed meeting minutes of this call using the researcher agent. So you see that the researcher icon is here. And the nice thing about researcher is that as it was processing, because it's kind of a 30-minute process, right? When the prompt was running, it took 30 minutes for it to finish. And you can see the what's going on in the LLM, in the AI brain. What is it thinking about when creating this report, right? So I did all of this, right? And it gave a lot of very detailed. I have it in a Word format just to show you in a little bit. See all these different sources, but instead of the sources being web sources, they're actually timestamps and emails and all this stuff that is related to this call, right? So it's a very nice addition when you're creating meeting minutes, and especially if you have somebody usually dedicated, like maybe like a PA writing the notes, or like typing down the script, right? Maybe you're in law and you're writing I'm not sure what it's called, but usually they have somebody live typing out what's being said word by word, right? Even though it's recorded. So those sort of roles might be redundant now. Uh, just have somebody type into something like this, right? You have the transcript and you have the official meeting minutes, so it's very long, right? I've set it to 10 pages, so you see it's in a myriad of formats. Okay, I'm just gonna show you the results real quick before I pass it to Rizwan. I have it somewhere here. Uh, Let me just open it real quick. I think it's this one. So it shows up something like this, right? The formatting is very fancy. And of course, if you've seen some of my previous demos on M365 Copilot, even in Word itself, it has a lot of additions, right? Like giving out this summary. It takes a little bit because it is, it's 19 pages, but 9 of the pages are just sources. And while that is running, I'm just going to show you what and of course, Copilot icon over here, right? If you are subbed into M365 Copilot. So giving you the attendees, right? The agenda, and going through the discussion topic by topic, right? Stuff like that, right? Very in depth for you to come up with a 10-page report based off of this is, I think, a 1 hour call, right? So giving out the decisions made, right? So some of the action items, the one I was talking about earlier, key takeaways, right? Because this is a little bit of a training session. So, some of the things that you be expected to learn off of the things that I've been presenting, for example, some risks and concerns, right? Because, AI and cybersecurity goes hand in hand, right? You don't want to be overexposing your files, for example, when using it as part of the prompt, for example, right? Also, just a summary of some of the Q&A they did for me, right? So stuff like that, action items, again, This is just a final summary because we had the 10-page, right? Telling you who needs to take action, what's the due date, if you have any sort of deadlines. So very nice addition when creating meeting minutes. And of course, it's just a lot and a lot of, I can be clearing this out, but I kept it over there just to show you that there's sources, right? These sources will be, of course, bringing you to all the different timestamps, the different documents, different emails that led up to this Teams call, right? Summary is not working yet, but I think that's to be expected with if you know Copilot for M365 is reliant on your internet being good. It is a web-based tool, so if you don't have access to the internet, Copilot doesn't live on your computer. So I think that is one of its downsides. But at the same time, you can't be using a tool like Google offline, right? So even Google needs a web connectivity. Okay. So I think that's it from me from a meeting minutes perspective. And if any of you guys want to try it out, I'd be happy to test it out with you. All right. So Ridwan, are you there, Ridwan?
Yes.
Okay, let me pass it to you. Okay.
Okay. Wait, ah.
No worries.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Share.
Okay, I see it.
All right. So I'm going to share a little bit about Cowork. Let me just go to the uh, first page first, understanding what is Cowork, right? So recently, just 2 days ago, right? So Microsoft announced this feature called Copilot Cowork. So basically, what does the Cowork will do is sort like a agent, but it's automation. Similar like when we had our AI is fun, I think 2 weeks ago, we have cloud automating certain tasks in creating a websites or nodes, right? So similarly, Microsoft have those. They call it Copilot Cowork. So maybe I just explain a bit what the Cowork means. After that, I will explain how to use it. There's a certain requirement and prerequisite. So you can see here some of the things that Cowork can do. Okay, let me just scroll down. Okay, so okay, so let me just make this. Okay, you can see here what are certain things that Cowork can do. If you go to the tab Cowork, right? So you will have like a plugin, right? So you have plugin from all this provider. So for example, you have certain tasks require external features, right? So they can actually integrate that. So you can use from the web browser itself. You don't need to have the applications, right? So another thing that I want to show is what? Okay, right? So what Cowork can actually do? So you can see here the differences. Maybe let me just zoom in. So you can see here the normal Copilot chat, right? So it's good for conversational AI, drafting, right? So you can just key in the prompt and it will respond, right? So that is typical AI, no matter if you're using Copilot or not, right? So probably there's a limitations, not a limitation. I say you are in the particular loop, right? It's a question and answer. You still have to do on your own certain other tasks, right? And then you have agents, right? At the right side. So let's forget about the middle part. So agents have been introduced since last year, I think about early last year or middle of last year. So the agents are made for repeatable tasks. Like if you remember like automation process, they call it RPA previously, right? Certain automations previously, they will click here and there, right? Power automates, right? So, but agents will automatically do that for you, right? So you can have a workflow, This is important. For example, now click here, click there, and take the result and internally understand what are the next course of actions, right? So you can run it on demand, right? So, and then Cowork. Cowork delegates and execute long-running tasks. So, for example, you want to build a proposal or tender documents, right? So the process is quite long, probably 1 or 2 or 3 days, depending on the information that you will have, right? So Cowork will actually do that like a complete AI self robot, right? So you don't have to do anything, right? So you just give an assignment and then you describe what are the goals that you want to achieve, and then you just make sure all the milestones are there, right? And then they can manage files, right? Not only creating proposal, they can rename your files, put all inside certain folders and those things, right? They can actually do that. So these are the main differences. We have the chat, we have the agent. So how does the Cowork actually license, right? So maybe before that, I can just show some of the prompt, right? They actually have this clean up my calendar, right? They can actually do that, right? New hire onboarding, right? So they will automatically pull the a new hire into a certain HR data, and then they will automatically assign all the tasks that will need the new hire to go through, right? These are some of the examples. So, okay, so now let me just show you if there's one video over here, right? So let me just share this. Okay. Okay, sorry, I think I already make it full screen there, right? So let me pause and just share the sound. Let me see if we can full screen this. No, it doesn't work. Never mind. So I just keep bigger. Yeah, but I guess, yeah, okay. Let me just try again. You can see here automatically create the folder for you, and also some of the important data. So this is the intro video. Yeah, yes, great.
No, yeah, I don't think a Copilot looks like this yet in my Cowork. But
Yeah,
I know
okay.
it just GA 2 days ago, right?
Okay, let me explain why. Okay, that's the point that I want to actually explain. Okay, so let me move this Teams bar. Okay, so if you go back to this previous article, right? So I will share all this link. So one thing that I want to show is this one. Okay, how does the Copilot Cowork billing works? Actually, if you purchase the Copilot license, it's already included, including the agents, right? It's not a use-based license. But Cowork actually is a use-based license. Means you still need to configure the billing, then only you will be able to actually use the Copilot Cowork, right? So if I just go a little bit details of the billings, right? So that I don't want to go into how to set up, but I will just show you the admin panel. So if you go to the admin panel here, you can see now there is a Copilot menu, right? So you can see all the activities related to Copilots, right? So usage, health, and those things. But there is one new menu here, Cowork, right? So if you go to Cowork, you can see there is a, because we don't have the billing configured in our tenant. But even though if you have, you still need to do this first time. Means you just have to go to the setup, the usage billing, and then it will go to this particular cost management under the Copilot. And then you will need to follow this. And you must remember, because you can see here, it will ask you limit spending or don't limit monthly spending. So you have to be cautious that this will actually cost you money. It means it will actually bill you based on the usage. So Microsoft did give some guidance on how to actually do that. So you can basically uh, go here. Let me see if I can show you, right? Actually, there is an Excel on how to calculate. Maybe I missed that out. It's okay.
Wait, so if you already have M365 Copilot, then do you have credits to start using it already?
No, no
No?
at all. No at
Oh
all.
no. It used to be free.
No at all. You still need to. This one still is totally. You have to pay. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
here you can see here there is an estimator, right? So you can just go to this Cowork cost estimator, and then they will give you an Excel for you to actually estimate. You can see here, knowledge worker, corporate worker, right? So it's a bit difficult, I understand, but these are the new skills at the modern era right now, right? You have to be really good at this one to actually understand the spending. Yeah. So that's a bit difficult part, because I thought I want to create a demo. It would be really nice
Yeah.
to show, right? but
Yeah.
but after like trying to understand everything, and then I see actually it's involved. There's a cost. So if you have the menu, right, so you will actually can see here, here in this particular, yeah, you will have a new chat, and then you will see that available for you. You don't have to wait. I don't see any region restriction. I don't see any, unless you are in certain part of the world, right? But other than that, you are you are good with agents. If you don't have that particular, you can use agent. Yeah, work IQ is good as well. Yeah. So I think that's all a simple sharing
All right.
about co-work. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I think I think we can share more a bit on one of the upcoming sessions. But wow, I didn't know they switched to usage billing, because I know they did the same thing with a GitHub Copilot, and people are angry.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, most of the provider now is a bit cautious about costing. Even cloud, right? Even they
Yeah.
also change the pricing model. Even Google also changing the pricing model. It's getting expensive now. So people are actually switching back to ChatGPT. They say ChatGPT is still the cheapest. So they have other method to actually do similar like Cowork. Let me try to maybe create some example in next sharing. I will
Yeah,
do
no
the
worries.
comparison. That will be really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just for me to wrap it up. So Copilot Cowork is a bit of it's an automation tool, right? Let's say you want to create a slide deck, and you want that slide deck to be sent through an email, and from that email you want to create a meeting to be attached to that email, right? So just from one prompt, you can do everything from that list I just gave you. So it's a very good like project management, project planning sort of tool. But if there's something there is pretty new to the free Copilot, not the paid Copilot. So if you guys are not into the M365 Copilot, you can try something out. Which is this new tab here. This is the regular Copilot, right? There's this tab called Tasks. So Copilot Tasks on preview. So something you can do. Let me just play it. I did sign up for a waitlist. So you have to sign up for a waitlist to be added in, right? I don't know when they're releasing this, But it is kind of like, I think I was kind of surprised when they released this, because I was like, isn't this kind of like Copilot Cowork? Which now that they are releasing Copilot Cowork in general availability, now in hindsight, that's like, oh yeah, they're releasing a light version of Copilot Cowork, right? Called Copilot Tasks. So if you scroll down a little bit, it just show you, see, you're gonna create a presentation for my report, or it's like creating a book of haircut. But it's like it's very multi like faceted, right? You have a lot of things to consider, putting in your prompt, and it just gives you the whole set at once, right? So something like that. So you see, it breaks down your task, moves it step by step, and checks in when you need to go ahead. Because one of the strengths of Copilot Cowork is that when the prompt is running, so let's say it's a very intensive prompt, takes 30 minutes to run, you can just leave it, go to a different screen, and if the prompt needs your attention again, like if it wants clarification, or if it's done, or is asking for ideas, it's gonna alert you, right? So this is something that Copilot Tasks also does. So for example, it's creating a tab, but it's not limited to just using it for productivity. It's also good for browsing the web, your different apps, that sort of stuff, right? Even just scheduling earlier, so scheduling a Teams call and putting it as part of an email, right? It's one of the things that Copilot Code can do. But Copilot Task can also do, I think, something like that, but not very extensive, as in using something in Copilot Cowork. Because Copilot Cowork, one of the greatest strengths is that it doesn't use the GPT model like the rest of the I think the rest of the built-in copilots in the other apps. It actually uses the Cloud LLM, right? Cloud by Anthropic. So I suspect that Copilot Task actually doesn't use Cloud. It uses GPT. But if you're using Copilot
Yeah,
Cowork, I think it uses Anthropic, right?
there is one more actually, Greg. If you
Hmm.
select the model, right, there is one model called Cowork. I'm not sure actually
Oh,
Microsoft
yeah.
created on their own, but what you say is correct too. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it's like a new model. It's like Cowork One. I think they said it's specifically for Copilot Cowork. I think I saw. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that one's more optimized for using it in Copilot Cowork. But Cloud, I think outside of just using the Copilot inside the apps, it's also available in the Copilot chat. So if you want to use it also, but that's for M365 Copilot. If you're using the free Copilot, something like tasks, I think you only get the GPT models, right? I think the Anthropic models are a bit more expensive, and they don't want to give it
Yes,
for
yes.
free. Yeah.
Correct.
So something like this, right? So if you guys are interested, join the wait list. I joined already, but I don't know when it's actually coming out, right? So I think I'm gonna stop sharing right here. I think that's the end of our session. It is 1:03. Do join us. We do have these sessions every 2 Wednesdays, but today is a Thursday because yesterday was a public holiday, so we just pushed it over one day, right? So I'm gonna stop the recording over here. Thank you for those who are watching us on YouTube. So yeah, please do stay tuned, right? And stopping the recording right now.